What's up, everyone? Welcome to Around the ACL. It's Michelle Thompson here with Trey Ryder and Anthony Ione. Anthony, way to show up. Way to show up and give us three people.
Present. I'm here.
Yeah. You're the real MVP.
Someone leave you hanging? Was that last week?
Twice
JB?
in a row. One was Trey, and then one was Jake.
One was me.
Yeah.
Hey, I gave at least some form of notice.
Correct.
Some form of notice. I didn't. I'm not schmanin', and I just didn't.
That's right. Schmakeschmanin.
So, rocking the three-person team, which is nice. All right, we got a lot to get into, even though we are here in the off-season. We're going to reveal the rest of the schedule for this year. So up through January. And then we're going to go through the new pro partnerships, and we have a special guest to bring on their partner. So we'll get to that and do a little interview.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be exciting. It is the season.
It is.
Then we have the top 10 from the throwdown, which we hadn't gotten to yet. Some news around the league, including who has won the recent qualifiers, the last chance qualifiers, some over under, and then Trey's going to give us some more stuff about next season, or I guess soon to be this season. We're not that far off. So a lot to get into. The first event we have coming up is actually in Germany, and that's this weekend. And Trey, you're heading there.
Yeah, I get on literally a flight tomorrow. This time I'll be kind of packing up, heading to the airport. So I am excited. I'm pumped up. I have already gotten some messages, exchanged some messages from some players out there. So for those that are interested, I'll give my little brief overview here just of Germany. The team competition that's going to be out there is going to be a ton of fun. It's very much similar to the World Cup. In soccer, you have 16 countries that are competing in the World Cup, 4 groups of 4. And just like soccer always ends up like this, there is a death group. So Germany, Croatia, and Slovenia all are 3 really good teams in Europe, all ended up in the same group. So there's been a lot of smack talk, especially between the Croatians and the Germans, which is going to be really, really cool. Of course, some German players were able to come compete in America. We had Guni writes he's going to be probably the top player and one to look out for in Germany. But the Bellat sisters, Maria and Kate or Kata, I've been messaging them back and forth. They got me some Croatian swag. So I'll be, if I'm not wearing the American stuff, I'll be maybe sporting some bias towards the Croatians while I'm over there. So
we are that easy, everybody. Just give us free stuff and we're loyal.
Yes, that's how it is. So I'm pumped up. I think it's going to be an absolutely epic week to be out there and be able to interact with all the different players. And what I'm excited for is to see the jump that is taken, because I was just there last year in Paris for the European Open, and now being able to see that elevation into where people are now, I think is going to be really, really exciting. And you've got some great American players going out there. The world champs, Hisner and Birchfield, are going to be there. Hunter Thorne's going to be there. Ethan Walker, Miranda Coy, Sean Farrell, Denny Mallon. I think I'm missing one person. Sorry. But, the U.S. is sending a really, really strong squad over there. And I just found out that India just had their national championships and are sending actually a team from India to compete. So even exploring into Asia now as this game continues to grow, that should be really exciting for everybody. If you're listening to this, this is what's really important for our long-term growth, is continuing to expand internationally. Shout out to Ton de Vries, who is our ACL Europe director. He's doing a fantastic job. And I know I'm already putting us behind the ball on timing wise, but I think it's important for everybody to get excited and tune in to ACL Europe coverage on ACL Cornhole TV and the Facebook page and everything throughout the entire week, because it's a really important time for our sport to celebrate what's going on in Germany this weekend.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'll be looking forward to that. The rest of the events for this year, we have the Open #1 in Rock Hill, South Carolina. That is October 4th through 6th. That will be also the Rookie Showcase, Pro Teams Draft, Media Day, and that will be the shootout format. October 18th through 20th will be Open #2 in Des Moines, Iowa. That's classic format. November 1st through 3rd is Open #3 in Little Rock, Arkansas, classic format for that one. November 15th through 17th, Open #4, Hamilton, Ohio. That's a shootout format. We also have our USA Cornhole event happening there. December 6th through 8th, Open number 5, Richmond, Virginia, classic format. And then January 3rd through 5th, ACL Open number 6 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, shootout format with the elite qualifier, the high school championship, and the college championship. Anthony, are you pumped?
Super pumped. We talk about it every time this time of year where it's like, oh, the season just ended. And it's like, nah, just kidding. Like, we're back on, it almost feels like a year-round thing. On the European Open, who's going to be on the mic there, Trey? Are we going to have or who's going to be commentating that one?
Oh, there's going to be so many comments of, will Trey Ryder just stop talking all weekend long?
Yeah.
Because I will be sitting at that table, and if it's on the live stream, baby, it's going to be me. So I'm getting back to the old days of long, hard, grinding days of commentary. But it'll be a little bit different. Like, I'm going to make an effort this time. I'm pulling people onto the mic. Like, that's what I'm doing. So we're going to be grabbing a bunch of players. But yes, it'll be primarily me. Tom will get on there, as well as a number of other people. So, but yes, I'll be on there.
Yeah, that's super exciting. It's like keeping track of 256 pros has always been a challenge, right? And then when you know how deep the amateur field as well, you try and keep track of that top 20, 25. So now with talent kind of growing in other parts of the world, it's going to take a full-time job just to keep up with all of the activity going on, Trey. That's a lot to absorb, a lot of matches.
Look, I'm worried about one thing and one thing only, and it's not that. It is pronunciations, because that is always the worst. You start getting some Slavic countries in there with some letters that I don't even know what they mean. Like, that's when things get tough. I had to
that's when we look American.
Yes, when it was just 16 players, like when I went to Europe last year, like literally I did like 2 hours of prep, and they're like, what is Trey doing? Research over there? No, he's just literally sitting next to Ton and say this name again, and then I say it, and say this name again, and I say it. So I'm being tested.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is actually a good lead into the next segment, but yes, it's fun to kick up the new season, where we start talking about drafts. We start talking about rookie showcases, kicking up the opens. We've got these new formats, but I love this time of year. And last year I think it kind of blew up last year when we were all anticipating the partnership reveals, and we saw big teams, top 10 teams breaking apart. So here we are again, fast forward to this season, and we're seeing the same things, teams where you didn't think that would break up, or you've got these new rookies coming in that are going to really mix things up and immediately getting really solid top elite players as rookies. So I'm excited to see how that shapes out and get this special guest on that you were talking about, Meesh.
Yeah, we're going to bring that special guest on, but let's talk about some of the pro partnerships that have been revealed. Adrian Brunson, Ethan Farias, that's an elite team. Gavin Cano, Sammy Soto. So no Fisher Hamilton there. Blaine Rozier, Jeremy Frazier. Tony Forbes, Zane Krotz, another elite team. Quinn Reeves and Austin Waskow. Ryan Hart and Chris Roybal. So that lets us know that Hart and Ellis are split. Hunter Thorne and Hunter Thorson. And then, of course, the one that will be coming on just shortly. But any big shockers in there, Trey?
I don't know if necessarily the pairings are the shocker. It's almost like who isn't in those pairings now, right? So Some notes there. You said no Fisher Hamilton. First of all, I love Cano and Soto. Like, I think that's actually going to be a really, really tough team to beat. And I wouldn't want to play them. I think they automatically jump into a top 5 status. I can't imagine that they don't. If they don't finish top 5, then that is a disappointment for a season for Cano and Soto. Now, having said that, Jack Gore, now without a partner. You also look down that list, Hunter Thorne and Jake Gore. Do the Gores get back together and play again together in the season?
No way.
I mean,
you beat each other up, man.
Jeremy Frazier, that means Cheyenne Bubenheim now is looking for a partner, or maybe has found one and just hasn't announced it yet, right? So that's another one. And then, of course, Ryan Hart and Jeremiah Ellis, with Ryan Hart playing with Chris Roybal now. Who does Jeremiah Ellis turn to? We kind of briefly talked about the options there. Is it, does he stay Ultra? And if he's with Ultra, is it someone like a Devin Harbaugh or somebody else that already has that connection with. I don't know. There's a number of different ways to go here, but man, I think it's always fun this time of year.
Anthony?
Yeah, with the first one you listed, I'm like, who's Ethan Farias? But then when I looked a little bit closer, I'm like, wait a minute. Is this the Emacs that Meesh was talking about last year? And I told the story on the show months and months ago, but I think it was in Vegas. And every once in a while you see a bag in flight out of the corner of your eye and you're like, oh, that's a really pretty bag. Who's throwing that bag? So I followed that toss, 70 something lanes over, I followed that across the building and it came on this little guy, Emacs. And I was like, whoa. So I watched him play a game. Very impressed at what I saw with him. So another young talent. Adrian Brunson, was he elite last year? Or was he?
Well, he wasn't a pro last year.
He wasn't a pro.
So I think he was not a pro. And the year before, I believe he was a PDC player.
Yeah.
So that was like pre-elite. So he kind of always flirted near the top of competing at a high level.
So is this him turning 18 then now that the junior thing wasn't a?
He will be
this is
18.
An elite team. This is an elite team, and he will be 18 at the end of this next season.
Okay. So this is an elite team.
Try to be pro next year.
Got you. Yeah, yes. Adrian Brunson we know is nice. Was he the Cali State champ a couple years ago too, Meesh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he won that one. And going through, improving state of Cali, it was Hunter Thorne. Maybe 2 years ago we were saying Hunter Thorne's probably the best player in the West. Maybe everything mountain, south, north, west at least. And now you have all this new talent in Cali. Maybe you can't say that anymore. Hunter Thorne's still nice, but you got so much talent that we saw even with some of the college players and some of the young guys coming up.
The Carolinas are stealing them. They're stealing our Cali players.
That's true. Hey, they stole our Colorado, our best Colorado players as well. So
we're in the same boat.
What's going on here? Love the Cano Soto. Like you said, I agree with you, Trey, right out of the gate. If these boys are not top five, and I think they have the ability to be the best team in the league. Cano losing Hamilton, I think that's a huge pickup for him and Soto. And I think just the Texas thing, I love seeing the, that regional kind of affiliation. I see them practicing. I'm not sure how close they live to each other, but I know they're close enough to be able to practice. So they've got a lot of time to build that relationship, that chemistry, which is already strong. So I think that part of the game is going to be easy for them. That's a layup. And then they bring a very similar style game, throw the same bags. I mean, when you look at all of the criteria that you want to see in a good doubles team, I think they check all the boxes. So that team is going to be tough. Rozier Frazier, I think these guys obviously showed out this year in doubles. I should say more in doubles. Frazier really showed out in doubles and singles. But Rozier, I think, is a better doubles player. He showed what he can do with his partnership last season. I think I like that. I like that for that team. And I think that they could kind of threaten that top 15. Rozier, we know, grinds. Frazier, we know, grinds. So I think they're only going to be better coming into next season. Thorson, I know if on the mic we're going to mess that one up sometimes, it's that's so close. Hunter Thorne, Hunter Thorson, the Hunters. So yeah, I'm excited to see what we have. But Meesh, can we get to this interview, please?
You say
first of all, okay, Thorne and Thorson. Okay, Thorne and Thorson should be branded Team Thor. Like if they don't,
Team
that's
Thor.
a branding mistake. It's a branding mistake if they don't go Team Thor.
You heard it here. All right, you can take it and run with it. We want you to, actually. All right, without further ado, we are going to bring on our special guest. Welcome, Jamie Graham. To the show.
What's up, y'all?
Yes. What's up, champ?
What's good?
Hey, I can't wait to hear this because Anthony's here to hear it. And we know what he said about your partnership last season. And I don't think
he showed out. They showed out.
You weren't here to defend yourself in that conversation. So I'm curious to see how this announcement's going to go and then how Anthony's going to respond to it specifically.
I don't think he's going to not like last year. I think he's going to excited this year.
All right.
Let's go.
Let me build some suspense here. I got a question here, right? So, played with Frank Modlin this year, and I think you guys had a decent year, right? I think in some instances you wish it could have been better, but I think you guys had some deep runs in certain things. Can you speak at least a little bit to what it was playing like with Frank this season, and the relationship that you guys still have, and maybe what led to the idea of going separate ways for this coming season?
For the people who don't know, my first season as a ACL pro, I played with Frank for all cornhole in 2020, and we grew up playing like when I first started playing cornhole, so we were around each other a lot, and I kind of liked that partnership. We were good friends. We're still good friends. But playing with Frank, man, it's pretty simple. He don't get mad. He kind of lets me do my thing. But something I learned that you kind of need in your game is you need the multi-shots. You need a lot of different shots. The generation that plays now. And Frank's more like the old school of like Matt Guy. He has the airmail, the slide. Frank Mullen's a slick side game changer thrower, so he's hole for hole. But overall, we did pretty good. Obviously, I'd like to be the number one doubles team in the world, but for our circumstances and the bags we kind of threw and the kind of game style we played, we didn't do too bad. But I wish nothing but the best for Frank, and I hope he kills it. But he kind of understood that I needed to move on and play with play with somebody else that would fit the same game style that I'm looking for.
Yes, makes sense. All right, are you ready to bring him on?
Let's do it.
Tell us who it is.
This year, I'll be playing with a younger generation. I left the old school behind, the 50-year up, slick side airmails only. But this year, I'm going to be playing with Jacob Trzynski.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Welcome, Jacob.
AT, what's up, man?
how we doing?
Wait a
How we
second.
doing?
Wait a second. Did we just get breaking news that Jacob Trzynski will not be throwing slick side only and only throw airmails this season? Is that what we just learned?
No shot.
I, for one, am shocked.
All right, I'll jump in first then, because
Yeah,
I'm burning over here. So, JT, like, I thought now, if I look at your season in comparison to what Jamie and Frank did, I thought you guys had a really successful season, right? I think the one of the big questions for me is like, one, it seems like this just had to be one of those scenarios of what you got a chance to play with Jamie Graham. Sometimes you got to take that, like a 2-time singles world champion. I mean, maybe give me some insight into kind of how this decision happened, because I think this is a monster team in the making, and someone that in a duo that you guys can make a really, really big splash this year.
I mean, I don't know how you could let Jamie Graham down. I mean, when I first started playing, I mean, he was one of the only names I really knew of. I mean, Jamie, Frank, I mean, any of the OG guys. I mean, obviously Tanner's right in with them. I mean, when the ACL started, I mean, I started in 2021. So, I mean, they were the only dudes I was watching. So, I mean, to get this opportunity, I'm definitely grateful, but I'm here now. Let's just do it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, me and Jamie were going back and forth last week. He's like, all right, throw me an idea. Who do you think it could be? So you're looking at a whole field. You don't know who's committed to who. People are moving around, but there was 2 names that came to my mind right away. And number one was going to be Eric Davis, because of what just happened in Cali. There's a lot of history there. There's the regional affiliation. But then I'm like, man, I just don't know how that bag sponsorship would work. They're pretty committed to their brands at this point. So then the second name was Jacob Trzynski. So I threw that one at him because I'm like, man, that would be a really good fit. There's that affiliation, that AAR, all cornhole affiliation right there. You look at a guy like JT, if we go back a couple years ago, right? He had, another guy across the boards, Tony Smith, who was one of the best in the league at the time, MVP that season. We were like, hey, JT is going to be he's the B player in this squad. And then he comes out and turns that around, right? He's the A player now last season, partnering up with a legend in Tanner Halbert. So I really like this fit because you kind of have this common factor in double success, with Tony Smith, Tanner Halbert, and now moving on to Jamie Graham. I don't think you can say anymore that JT is that B player. You definitely can't say that. And then going in with a guy like Jamie Graham, most people would be beyond nervous. But I think a guy like JT has already played with legends. He's already played with the best player in the game in that year. I think he's set up to be super successful with Jamie Graham. I love this.
There you go. Jamie, you got Anthony's approval.
check it out. All right, one more I got for you guys. Maybe I'll go Jamie here, but one thing that's going to be very different other than play style is demeanor on the other end, right? JT is not Frank Modlin for better or for worse, right? I mean, is that something that excites you about this season, playing with someone that has a different energy than Frank?
I guess. I mean, I played with Trevor for 3 years, and you can't get much more than that right there. So I'm pretty much used to the big hype and then the no talk, and so I think me and him are going to dominate. Like I said, I kind of this year I really went with somebody that I could grow with and not just play 1 season, 2 seasons with. And I wanted a younger generation that has 5 different in our arsenal, because there's so many games that you lose because you don't have that cut shot or that roll shot. And Jacob has them all. And I like to think that I have all the shots too. And I think if we're both on, it's going to be really tough to beat us.
Are we talking bags yet, or is that still in work? Are we allowed to announce?
Yeah. We're signing with AAR.
AAR. Okay.
Wow.
So
Interesting. Yeah.
That's new. That's new.
So yeah, do you guys have a bag? Have you decided on a bag?
I threw the times in Cali, I threw the rippers, and
the rippers.
I really like the rippers, but honestly, it doesn't matter. Throwing them back to JT, I don't think it matters, to be honest.
Fair enough.
That's so true.
JT.
Coming from Jamie Graham, I think
the thing that matters most is board condition. I mean, but
it'll be new boards this season. That's something that we really haven't talked about next, but new boards going to make things faster, at least out of the gate. So like, it'll take some time for the boards to slow down. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But all right, I'll put you on the spot. JT, over, under, better or worse than 3rd in the pro division next year for doubles for Graham and Trzynski?
I wouldn't be playing if I didn't want that number 1 spot.
We know you
I'm
want
not
it.
shocked at all. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not shocked at all. That's what he went with. So.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Do you have something else, Anthony, before we wrap up?
I want to talk to him for another hour. Can we do that?
I know you do. Or... I know you do. But we do have other stuff to get to, unfortunately.
All right, fine.
All right, guys. Hey, we so appreciate you coming on our show and announcing this. This is a very exciting partnership. So all the luck to you both this season.
Thank you.
Yeah,
fellas.
Guys.
All right. Well, there you have it. Our first around the ACL announcement coming out big.
I had so much more to talk about, Meesh. I had so much more. You're such a bully on this agenda.
Europe for like 5 minutes, so you can.
Look, Europe deserves it. You can talk to him all season long. All right.
That's fair.
Yeah. Closing thought for me is I just like. I know Jamie says I'm used to playing with Trevor and stuff like that. There is going to be a demeanor difference, right? I mean, I think. And it will help in some instances, but it will hurt in some instances. So I'm not saying that this wasn't a good decision at all. I actually think it was a very good decision from Jamie Graham, and I like the partnership. But they have to learn to play really well together because Trzynski is a big personality, and Halbert did a really good job of playing with that personality this year. Jamie just has to do the same thing this year, and they'll be really successful.
Here's the big difference for me in that partnership. If we look to last season, with Frank and Jamie. Frank's a legend, right? He's one of the best players to play this game. And he was good enough to get them into those bracket finals, into those last few. You get down to 8, 4 players. He was good enough to get them there. But for some reason, when you get to those steps, and we would watch it, we get down to these last few guys, and Modlin's game seemed to slip a little bit. And what was crazy is you would see Jamie Graham's game elevate to some of the best stuff that you ever see. I mean, there were matches. That Bernasette Lopez match in Colorado was unbelievable, and that was a perfect example. Frank Modlin throwing his worst games of the day, and Jamie Graham throwing his best stuff that you would ever see. Now, why I like that is a guy like JT steps up in those moments when it matters, when everything's on the line. He brings his best game forward. If you get Jamie Graham and Jacob Trzynski's best stuff in bracket finals, nobody's going to stop them. That's why I really like that partnership.
Yeah.
Who finishes higher, Smith or Richards, Trzynski, Graham?
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a dogfight, right? I mean, if we, my first thought is going to be JT and Jamie Graham, just because of how weird it was for Smith and Richards in singles, and those guys dominated in singles and doubles. That's the only reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we're going to head over to the top 10 from the throwdown. We're going to start off with an honorable mention, which was the crowd. What an incredible crowd we had in Cali. Let's go. Cali knows how to show up.
So much energy. Loved it. The Tony and Spencer chants were just hilarious. I love them.
Yeah. So good. All right. Number 10. This was Jenna Bandy, our super hole, or I guess we don't call that for this, huh? Whatever we call this celebrity event. She hit an air mill. I mean, she did fantastic.
I knew from the second I saw her warming up, I was like, whoa, flat bag coming out hot. She was going to be good. And she was arguably, aside from maybe like David Lim and Shamar, I think she was the most impressive celebrity on the day.
What I liked about her is when she would miss a shot or when she wasn't the one shooting, you'd kind of see her in the background, like kind of shadow throwing, like trying to get her technique right.
Yeah.
Like it mattered to her to be good. She wanted to be good.
She also did like the Shooter McGavin thing, which I'm here for a Happy Gilmore reference. I don't know if that's why she's doing it. But anyways, Kaylee Hunter with a great push here. Number 9.
Season. What a season for Hunter, man. So impressive.
Fantastic season.
Showed out.
Deserved that win there. 8, Logan Chamberlain with a sneaky collect, as Corey calls it.
Slick side around the right. That's nasty.
So bad.
That is nasty.
I mean, you think, oh, there's no way he's getting that bag. I've got 3 on the hole. No, doesn't matter. Sarah Cassidy. Great job.
Oh my gosh.
Airmail drag.
Just her airmails in general that whole weekend. Gas. She showed out too.
Yeah, and it's different environment there.
That was her best. That was by far her best performance when it comes to airmails that I've seen in a while. It was impressive.
Unconscious. Yep. All right. Number 6, Logan Chamberlain with a pulley bush.
Hey, yo, let's go. Pulley bush still kicking.
I like how he did the come on, you're going to fall in. I know you are. Don't leave me hanging. Number 5, Justin Burton Jr. with a sneaky sneak around.
Yeah, that was nice. I remember that one.
Yeah,
comes to the back side of the hole. Goes around.
That was good. That was right after an airmail by Fabian R2.
Yeah, no, that was very impressive. All right. Number 4, we got to have Braden Wilson on there. He gets a great collect here.
Again with the inside arm collect. Unbelievable.
So
it's insane. I mean, he's just I will say I did play Braden Wilson. I'm going to say it publicly. I played Braden Wilson. He gave me 18 points. I beat him. Just saying.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Get some, Braden.
Okay. So that handicap works for you. Good to
And
know.
then after he won the Pro Invitational, I said, hey, guys, the person to beat Braden Wilson today was me. So
right
if you guys
here.
need any tips, let me know.
Yeah, I just nailed it.
He's like, you want to play again? I said, absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
And I walked away.
Got to go out on a high. Absolutely. Another great showing was Miranda Coy here. She had a 2-bag drag.
She threw really well as well. She stepped up.
She loves that
She's
Pro
getting better.
Invitational. She played well last year.
Mm-hmm. That's her thing, apparently.
She keeps getting better. If she can bring back that rollback just a little bit more, I think she will be a contender for one of the best females. Give me a little bit of that roll queen.
Yep, bring it back. All right, number 2 and 1. I know you guys are going to be shocked, but it's Eric Davis. So first, we're going to get a bar soap.
Yep. This one was stupid.
Brayden.
And he throws it so effortlessly. Most guys might take 5 steps back. They get a running start. He just chucks it in there.
All right, and then we're going to just call this one a rescue mission. I don't know what else we could call it.
Insane. This was insane.
Who thinks they're getting that?
Yeah. Without that, you lose that match. You do not win that big, what is it, 40K? You do not win that 40K paycheck without that hit.
They literally took that money out of Bobby and Chad Hunt's hands because how good they were playing, they were going to win that, right? Because I just don't think Spencer and Tony, I think they got past that first game and that was so much energy and then they kind of faded a little bit in game 2. But Bobby and Chad were not losing. I mean, and it required that. I was ready to hit submit score. I was running the tablet. And I was getting ready to just move on. I was not mentally prepared for Eric Davis to hit that shot. I was flustered trying to get the tablet to work. I mean, it was,
The Hunts were so good. When that game was over, I'm sitting there trying to remember why they even lost.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were hitting every shot, every push, every air mail. And I'm like, where did they go wrong? That was some of the best cornhole I've seen those guys play for sure.
Very, very good. All right, news around the league. We had some last chance pro qualifiers / top 100 events over the weekend. The Northwest, the winner was Josh Neville. Southeast, Devin Keene. Northeast, Roberto Silva. Carolina, Josiah Do you know this person?
Arguin, I think.
Arguin? Okay.
I've seen it. I still don't know how to pronounce his last name, which I will.
You do know him. Okay. I'm so sorry, Josiah. Please feel free to message me what your last name is in phonetic spelling or a soundbite. Southwest, John Mendoza. So those were the winners over the weekend. Coming up, the Mountain, North, and Atlantic will be this coming up weekend. Then the West will be the following in the Mid-South, and then finally the Mid-East. So is that it? Does that lead us to all of the last chance qualifiers, or is there more?
I think that's all of them.
Okay.
Maybe the Mid-North is the only one where they're missing at that as well. But
okay.
It'll be getting down to it.
So for all those people out there looking for, the list of pros, we're still in the process. I mean, here's a good example where we still need those last chance qualifiers to come around. That could be feeding some partnerships, some bag sponsorships. So we're still in that process. What is that deadline, Trey, for when we will finally have kind of a true list of who accepted a contract?
Yeah, it'll be right about like October 1st. It'll be that time because, their deadline to sign the contract is September 20th, but some of them will get a little bit of an extension into the following week and things of that nature. So it'll be October 1st is when people should be looking for that final list.
Got you.
All right. And then I know we talked about some changes on the episode last week, and the ACL has dropped some videos to talk about those changes. I was just curious, the last chance qualifier, is that something that will continue for next season?
It will not, right?
Oh.
Because conference play is going away, and the way that we're going to change it is, and this gets a little bit into what we'll talk about later, but all 50 states, the top 5 players in each state who are pros or elite players will get entry into a state championship type of tournament at the World Championships, and the top 6 players from that who don't already have their pro card will get a pro card. So it kind of replaces that, and it's kind of like a second pro qualifier for those that have been really successful throughout the entire season.
And that will happen at World, so we'll have much more notice than in this situation. So that's good. We're going to get into some more season changes in just a moment. But first, let's do some over-under. These are where these players finished the end of this season. And my question to you is, are they going to be better or worse going into next season? First one, since he was here, Jamie Graham finished number 11. Trey, over-under.
Yeah, over being better or under being better, just so I'm clear.
Yeah, so under would be would be
under
10,
better.
Yeah.
Under
yeah.
better.
Under better.
Okay.
Under better.
That would be 1 through
Jamie
10.
Graham, 11. I'm going to go under. I think he's better this season. There might have been some stuff with his bag choice alongside Frank Maudlin that bled into singles. I think he'll have some better momentum. I like the way I saw him at Spencer's. It was a year that we just didn't see as much Jamie Graham. He's a singles world champion, and look, I think it's going to be back to where he was under.
Anthony.
Yeah, let's face it, guys. This is difficult. Like if we look at last season, let's look at the top 10 players from last season, or excuse me, 2 seasons ago. Only one of those players were back into the top 10. So, like, for example, Tony Smith was the number 1 player in the world, finished 15. Alex Rawls, number 2, finished 18. Mark Richards, number 4, finished 46. Caleb Batson, number 5, finished 133, and the list goes on. The only guy to go back-to-back top 10, Devin Harbaugh. He was 7th and then 6th.
So consistent. He's so consistent.
So it is like to sit here and do this. It is so difficult. Jamie Graham's a committed player. He is dedicated to this game. It actually, I always expect him to be number 1. That's how good he is. I'm going to go with Trey on this one. I think he's a top 10 guy. How is he not? Every year I say he's a top 10 guy.
Well, he was barely not.
Yeah, he was barely not.
Braden Wilson, number 8, Trey.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. I have a theory about junior players that regardless of who you are, you cannot sustain the level of success for a long period of time. If there's anybody who can break that mold, I actually think it is Wilson, actually more so over Trader. I expect Trader to have more of a drop-off than Wilson does this coming season because I think, for lack of a better term, Braden Wilson built different. I just think but there is a drop off. Junior players have never in the history of our sport
That's
been
true.
able to showcase sustained success for more than one season. You cannot give me an example otherwise. You cannot do it. So because of that, I have to play the odds regardless of who it is. I'm going to go over.
So he'd have to beat the odds. There's your what you got to do there, Braden. Anthony.
I agree with what Trey's saying, but man, Braden was just so consistent in the bottom four. I mean, how many brackets and across multiple formats? So we saw this season about the classic and the shootout format. They all matter, and he seemed to be successful at both. I'm going to go the other way on this one. I'm going to go under.
Nice.
Jacob Trzynski, we just had him on, number 5.
Look, I still think he's a top 10 guy. If I say he's going to finish 7th, I don't really want to, throw too much shade towards him. I'll go over. I say, look, I think he's a top 10 guy. I think there's a lot of people that are going to fight to get back into that top 5. And if he falls back a couple places, I don't see a big drop off. I just think some players will end up stepping up a little bit more. I still expect him to be 7th, 8th.
Anthony?
I feel like no one fights for the number 1 spot more than Jacob Trzynski. At least what he shows, body language wise, emotion, the grind. I don't see anyone fighting more for the top spot. But as we're talking about all this, we have to remember 9 of the 10 people that were top 10 the year before were not this year. So are we making room for those guys? Is Tony Smith going to be a top 10 guy? Is Jamie Graham going to be a top 10 guy? Mark Richards, Justin Burton Jr. I mean, these guys, are they going to be top 10 again? That means it's going to make it even more difficult. This one's hard. I like JT's style, man. I'm going to say he's going to be a top 3 guy next season.
Wow. Okay. Speaking of top 3, Eric Davis at number 3.
Over. 3 is ridiculous. Look, I know he's the best shot maker. He had the best season he's ever had. Look, he'll be, if he wants to be a top 10 guy, great. He's not going to finish 1st or 2nd.
Anthony?
It's almost like Eric is the opposite of Jacob Trzynski. Does he even care that he's the 3rd best player in the world? But he's just so good. He just gets it done. I'm gonna go over on this one. But a top 10.
If there's anything that goes against it, is that now that shootouts will play a larger role in rankings.
Okay.
So that could help him because he is the shootout king. However, I still think 3rd is just such a high bar to catch.
Yeah.
Chris Roybal at 14.
Oh, man, that's the hardest one on the list. I'm going to go over. I think there's too many people. I mean, when he's talking about Mark Richards and Alex Rawls and Tony Smith being higher than that, we got to make room for some people. I'm going to go over. I don't think it's by much. Roybal's a top 20 player, but I'm going to go over again. Have I picked anybody to be under yet? Oh, Jamie Graham. Over.
Well, I went towards the top of the list, so I knew it would be mostly that. Anthony.
All right, this guy is changing to a dedicated player. He wasn't dedicated to start the season, I don't believe. I know it switched somewhere in the season. He blew us all out when we were all sleeping on this guy. Really impressed at what he had to do. And to change his entire pitch going into the season, because that was one of the topics we were talking about. Changed it all, cleaned it up. So he goes in with something different. This one's tough, but I think this guy is actually, I'm not going to sleep on him this time. I'm going to go under on this. I think Chris Roybal might surprise us as a top 10 player this season.
Tanner Halbert, 39.
Under. He had a bad first half of the season. He played like a top 20 player this year. I'm pretty confident in that under.
Anthony?
A non-dedicated player who just, every time I talk to Tanner, I was like, hey, when's the last time you threw? He's like, well, when was the last Open or last National? That was when I threw. I was like, that was 2 weeks ago, dude. When are you throwing? He's like, I just don't have time. But yeah, even Tanner could come in cold without throwing a bag for a month, and I still think he could be a top 30 guy. So I'm going to go under.
All right. Cheyenne Bubenheim at 11.
This is another tough one. We're just playing the odds. 11th was her best finish of her career. I think she's playing at a high level, arguably the best that she's ever played at this point. I don't see that going away, right? But there's some other people that might fight there. For me to say that she's going to be a top 15, top 20 player is still a great compliment. I'm going to go over, but not by much.
Anthony?
I agree as well. Over, somewhere in the teens.
Just for fun, Jeremiah Ellis, number 1. Could he do it?
Not this year.
Yeah, I think it's look. We're just playing odds. Jeremiah Ellis is a top 10 player, right? He's the MVP. He's all those things. The sophomore slump is real. It happens. That's why it has a name, right? So look at what happened to Mark Richards this year. All of those things stack up to say it's going to be nearly impossible for him to get back to number 1. Now, if he does, that's unprecedented in a way that he's putting everybody else on notice of why he is where he is.
Sure.
What was crazy is he came out so hot. We thought he was untouchable, and somehow he slipped in the back part of the season where we thought mathematically nobody was going to catch him. All of a sudden, we're getting into the worlds going, oh, there's a chance this could happen, and this can happen, and this can happen. Yeah. So I would like to have seen him finish the way that he started and just blow it out of the water. But he's one of the 4 or 5 guys that could be number 1. But you got the field now. Yes. You got 4 other guys that are going in for it.
And I'll put it this way: he could play better than he played this year and finish second.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
I mean, that's we're literally playing odds at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Trey, take us through some changes coming up in this next season. We're excited about it.
Yeah, we talked about last week kind of the Opens becoming part of the series. We talked about the Pro Tour, so Opens and these signature events. The new thing that I just wanted to really harp on today was this introduction of the 3 core new tours that we're offering: the women's, the senior, and the junior Pro Tour. So many different times we start hearing about all of these different groups, so close to qualifying, wanting to showcase some of the talent, and now dedicated TV time and prize money and everything going to be geared toward these specific groups. So there will be women's, senior, junior, singles, and doubles at all open and signature events. It'll be very similar format to the Pro Tour structure and focus on some of these top players in the world and showcasing their skills. So there's going to be an opportunity as I go through some of the list of people that we can now talk about being pro players in their respective groups. We talk about juniors that have qualified for this junior Pro Tour, and juniors can maintain their college eligibility, which is really important to a lot of people. And this allows them to do that to compete as a junior. Some people that we'd be talking about here: Tony Forbes has qualified, right? Mason Trader has qualified. Even someone like a Cash Chamness has qualified to be a part of this junior Pro Tour, right? There's a really a cool opportunity for some of these to compete across the regular season, show up on TV, and showcase their skills. On the women's side of things, really excited to see some of the women that have not only qualified for the main Pro Tour, but people like Riley Schaff, Maddie McBride have qualified for this tour to showcase their best skills and be able to compete alongside some of the great women that we have. And then on the senior tour side of things, there's a number of people. Donald Cupp qualifies for this like he has in the past. Even someone like a Tom Walter has re-qualified. There's some other big names in here. Jerry Lockwood, Andy Phillips. There's a number that have qualified for this. So these 3 tours, having singles and doubles events across the entire season, allows them to become a focal point of conversation for the entire season, which we're really excited about, and give them some rankings and also give them an opportunity to showcase their skills. So really excited for the Pro Tour side of things, in addition to the main Pro Tour changes that we talked about previously. So that's probably what I'm most excited about. Obviously, the rule change that's come through about the step over going away is probably another big one. The big bomb that's going to be dropped here today on social is just no more follow through step going to be allowed. It's going to be an adjustment for a lot of players to play at that level. And I'm glad we got the officiating program where we need it to be, because now we got people.
It's going to get real.
getting signed up to go to these open events and start doing all this officiating, because it's going to be a interesting dynamic. So
yeah, I'm curious, Anthony, who is going to struggle with that step over rule change?
Honestly, I think most people are going to adjust just fine. These guys are pros, and we've seen what guys can do focusing on their pitch in just a short amount of time. I don't think it's going to be a big problem. I don't think it's going to be a big problem at all.
What about like a Frank Maudlin who's been throwing for as long as he has, the way he has?
I think he's going to be fine. I mean, I've seen him throw without a step over before for periods of time as well. I don't think that's going to be an issue for him either.
And then do you think that they eliminate their step, or do they start farther back?
I think they just eliminate the step for the most part. You're going to still see the guys that were stepping over. I think they just eliminate the step probably for the most part. I'd be curious to see though. I'm excited to see what these guys come out with technique wise once we get out there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Trey, any last remaining thoughts as we wrap up?
Yeah, maybe the last thing is just on the CPI, that this is a brand new metric that's started to creep into channels, and now we're making kind of the official push for it. But CPI is going to be the new Cornhole Player Index, and that is really what's going to give people a rating across an entire season to help with setting skill levels, set the minimum requirements for elite players moving forward after next season. But a player's CPI is essentially a combination of three core metrics that people are already familiar with. PPR over the past 2 seasons, DPR over the past 2 seasons at all levels of play, and the third is strength of schedule, or your win-loss record versus players across over the course of your career. So since Anthony is a lot better player than me, if I beat Anthony, I get a big bump in my CPI. If I lose to Anthony, I'll get a small decrease in my CPI because he was a higher rated player than me. And then the inverse is true, right? If I lose to a player with a much lower CPI, I drop a significant margin. It has flavors. It has some similarities to chess's ELO system, which, as you play players that are better, you go up. Play players that are worse, you may go down. But then adds in the combination of our 2 core statistics. And it's a formula that was a lot of trial and error on the formula behind the scenes by the analytics guru Dave Weiser, but you will be scored from 0 to 12. So we've run the simulation thousands of times and never had someone get close to a 12.0 CPI. But the idea is this will allow us to truly establish player ratings and skill levels across the board. And it'll be something fun to talk about when we see who the number 1 CPI player is, right? And who ultimately has all of that history. So really exciting and cool to see. Point differential plays into it. The level of event plays into it. So pro events count more than local events. And it's a pretty in-depth metric, but one that we're really excited about.
I bet Anthony will get nerdy about that. I have no doubt.
Already got me thinking of it. I love the level of play factor. Who you're playing is that's got to be in there. Got to be in there.
Absolutely. Yep. I think that's a great metric. All right, it is time for Holy Hot Takes. Trey, you got one?
Yeah, I'm going to take a very broad approach here. I think with the new formats, with everything, I think the general public is going to come to love the shootouts more this season. There's going to be a more positive energy around shootout format events this coming season.
Anthony?
I'm just looking at this doubles thing because we just had this interview and this reveal, which I think is this is breaking news for the Cornhole World. I think that's going to be huge. But I'm looking at the doubles teams from last season. I'm trying to think of who's going to be our best doubles team. Our number 2, we know that Hart and Ellis are breaking up based on what you just mentioned. So where does Ellis end up? Alex Rawls said he's going to announce his partner tonight. So we know he's not with Holland anymore, unless he just announces Holland and then we're like, that wasn't funny, so that's possible. Devin Harbaugh Malone, number 4, breaking up. So you kind of go down the list. Does Eric Davis and Sorrell stay together? Have they announced that? Have you seen that at all?
I haven't seen it.
Don't know, right? So, I mean, with what we know today, I like Jamie Graham and Jacob Trzynski right now as the number 1 doubles team right now. I love Soto Kano. I think they're going to be good, but I think the veteran ability to get it done under pressure, Jamie Graham looking across the board at another A player, I think they're going to be tough to beat. Number 1 right now on my list.
All right, and I'm going to say Braden Wilson breaks the streak and remains in the top 10 as a junior player next season.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you can do it, Braden. I have all the faith. All right, it's all we got time for. Thanks, everybody, so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.